I found the hotel receipt while looking for our daughter's birth certificate. Just a crumpled piece of paper wedged between file folders in Jessica's desk drawer. The Riverside Inn, dated 3 weeks ago. The same Tuesday she'd claimed to be visiting her sister in Portland. My hands didn't shake. That's what surprised me most. 10 years of marriage, and the moment that would define the end of it all arrived with an almost clinical detachment. Room 237, checked in at 2:47 p.m., checked out at 6:15 p.m. 3.5 hours. I photographed it with my phone, replaced it exactly where I'd found it, and closed the drawer. The birth certificate could wait. This couldn't. Jessica was downstairs making dinner, humming along to some podcast about mindfulness and intentional living. Our 8-year-old daughter, Emma, sat at the kitchen table working on her math homework. The domestic scene looked perfect from the doorway. My wife in her yoga pants and oversized sweater, blonde hair pulled back in that messy bun she always wore at home, stirring something that smelled like tomato sauce. This was the life we'd built together. The life I'd worked 60-hour weeks to provide. The life that was apparently not enough. "Hey, babe," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'm going to run to the office for a bit. Forgot some files I need for tomorrow's presentation." Jessica glanced over her shoulder, offering that easy smile that had first attracted me to her at a college party 12 years ago. "Now? Dinner's almost ready." "Won't be long. Hour, tops." "Okay, I'll keep a plate warm for you." I kissed Emma on the top of her head, grabbed my keys, and left before the mask could slip. The Riverside Inn was a 40-minute drive across town, nestled in one of those areas that wasn't quite seedy but wasn't respectable either. The kind of place where people paid cash and nobody asked questions. I parked across the street and pulled up the photo of the receipt again, studying it like it might reveal something new. 3 weeks ago, Tuesday afternoon. I'd been in back-to-back meetings until 7 that night, completely oblivious. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend since college, Tyler. "Still on for basketball Thursday?" I stared at the message, then at the hotel, then back at my phone. Tyler was a private investigator now, ran his own firm after leaving the police force 5 years back. We'd stayed close despite our different paths, me into corporate finance, him into the messy underbelly of people's secrets. "Actually, need to talk to you about something. Can you meet tomorrow?" "My office?" His response came immediately. "Sure. 9 a.m. work?" "Perfect." I drove home, ate the reheated lasagna Jessica had saved for me, helped Emma with the last of her homework, and went through our evening routine like nothing had changed. Jessica curled up next to me on the couch while we watched some reality show she liked. She rested her head on my shoulder, her hand on my chest, and I wondered if she could feel my heart beating its steady, controlled rhythm. "You okay?" she asked during a commercial break. "You seem quiet." "Just tired. Long day." "You work too hard, David." She tilted her face up to kiss my jaw. "You should take some time off. Maybe we could plan a weekend getaway? Just the two of us. My mom could watch Emma." The audacity of it almost made me laugh. Instead, I kissed her forehead. "That sounds nice. We'll look at the calendar this weekend." She smiled and settled back against me, satisfied. That night, after she fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The woman next to me breathed softly, one arm draped across my stomach like she'd done for 10 years. I thought about all the Tuesday afternoons, all the late meetings she'd mentioned, all the girls' nights and sister visits and yoga classes that ran long. How many receipts were there? How many hotel rooms? How many lies had I swallowed without question because I'd trusted the woman I'd promised my life to? The next morning, I was at Tyler's office at 8:45. He took one look at my face and closed the door behind me. "What happened?" I showed him the photo of the receipt. He studied it, his expression shifting from curious to professional in seconds. This was what he did after all, documented the dissolution of trust for a living. You want to know for sure, he said. It wasn't a question. I need to know everything. Tyler leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin. Surveillance isn't cheap, and it's not quick. If she's careful, she's not. She left the receipt in our home office. Then she's either careless or she doesn't think you'd ever look. He pulled out a legal pad. Tell me about her routine. When does she have time unaccounted for? I walked him through Jessica's schedule. Her part-time job as a marketing consultant that let her work from home 3 days a week. Her standing Tuesday and Thursday yoga classes. Her monthly book club that met on Fridays. As I laid it all out, the gaps in her day became obvious. So much time. So many opportunities. I'll need photos of her car, any regular locations she visits, Tyler said, taking notes. And I'll need you to act completely normal at home. Can you do that? Could I? I'd already done it for 12 hours. I could do it for however long it took. Yes. Good. I'll start today. Tyler called me 4 days later. I was in a conference room on the 14th floor, half listening to quarterly projections, when my phone vibrated. I glanced down. Tyler's name appeared on the screen. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. What do you have? I asked. Enough. His voice was flat, professional. Can you meet me at my office in an hour? I'll be there. The drive gave me time to prepare. I'd spent the last 4 days maintaining the performance, kissing Jessica goodbye in the mornings, asking about her day over dinner, helping Emma with her math homework. My hands had remained steady. My voice had stayed level. Jessica had noticed nothing. Tyler's office was in a converted warehouse downtown. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor and found him waiting at his desk, a manila folder in front of him. Sit, he said. I sat. He opened the folder and slid a photograph across the desk. Jessica, standing outside a coffee shop I didn't recognize. She was smiling, checking her phone. The timestamp read, Tuesday, 10:47 a.m. This was yesterday, Tyler said. She left your house at 10:15, drove to this cafe on Westlake. She was inside for 20 minutes. He slid another photo across. Jessica at a table with a man. Mid-30s, dark hair, athletic build. They were leaning close, both smiling. Her hand rested on the table between them. His hand covered hers. I studied the image. The man's face meant nothing to me. Who is he? Brandon Cole, personal trainer at the gym where your wife supposedly takes yoga classes. Tyler's expression didn't change. She does go to the gym, just not for yoga. He produced more photographs. Jessica and Brandon leaving the cafe together, walking to separate cars. A shot of Brandon's license plate. They drove to the Riverside Inn, Tyler continued. Arrived at 11:30, checked out at 2:15. Same room as the receipt you found, room 237. He slid across a printed schedule. I tracked her movements for 4 days. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, same pattern. Coffee, hotel, home by 3. She showers before picking up your daughter from school. The detail about the shower landed like a punch. Of course she showered. Of course she planned it that carefully. How long? I asked. I can't tell you that from 4 days of surveillance, but I did some checking. Tyler pulled out another document. Brandon Cole started working at that gym 8 months ago. Before that, he was in Seattle. I spoke to a former colleague up there. Off the record, she said he has a pattern. Targets married clients. Usually lasts 6 to 8 months before he moves on or gets caught. 8 months. I'd celebrated our anniversary 7 months ago, taken Jessica to her favorite restaurant, given her diamond earrings, made love to her that night while she whispered that she loved me. There's more, Tyler said. He pulled out his phone and turned it toward me. A video, paused on the first frame. Jessica and Brandon in a parking lot. He pressed play. They were standing between their cars, talking. Brandon said something that made Jessica laugh. Then he pulled her close and kissed her. Not a brief kiss. Not ambiguous. She melted into him, her arms around his neck, her body pressed against his. The video lasted 15 seconds. Tyler stopped it and set the phone down. "I'm sorry," he said. I nodded. My throat felt tight, but my hands remained steady on the armrests. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "That depends on what you want to do." Tyler leaned back in his chair. "You have enough here for a divorce attorney. Photographic evidence, timeline, pattern of deception. In this state, adultery affects asset division and custody considerations. I want documentation of everything," I said. "Every meeting, every hotel visit, dates, times, photographs. I want a complete record." "I can do that. How long do you want me to continue surveillance?" 2 more weeks. I need to consult with an attorney first. Get my finances in order." I paused. "Can you find out if there were other hotel visits before the receipt I found?" "I can try. If they used credit cards, there'll be a trail. If they paid cash, it's harder." "Do what you can." Tyler nodded and began gathering the photographs. He slid them back into the folder and handed it to me. "These are copies. I have the originals in my safe. Don't leave this folder anywhere your wife might find it." "I won't." I stood to leave, then stopped. "The gym where he works. What's it called?" "Elite Fitness on White Boulevard." "Why?" "Jessica's been a member there for 2 years." I remembered her enthusiasm when she joined. She'd said she needed something for herself, a break from being home all day. I'd encouraged it. Paid for the premium membership. "That's common," Tyler said. "These guys are patient. They build rapport first. Friendly conversations, training advice. Then it escalates." I nodded and left. The drive home took 30 minutes. I stopped at my office first, locked the folder in my desk drawer, and returned to the conference room. The meeting was still going. I slipped back into my seat and pretended to care about revenue projections. That evening, Jessica made chicken parmesan for dinner. Emma chattered about a field trip to the Science Museum. Jessica laughed at something our daughter said, her face bright and animated. I watched her across the table. She looked the same. Blonde hair pulled back, minimal makeup, the small scar on her chin from a childhood bike accident. The same woman I'd married 10 years ago. The same woman who'd cried happy tears when Emma was born. The same woman who'd held my hand through my father's funeral. But now I knew what Tuesday and Thursday mornings meant. I knew why she always showered before school pickup. I knew whose hands had touched her, whose mouth had kissed her. "David," Jessica was looking at me. "You okay? You seem distracted." "Just tired," I said. "Long day." "You're working too hard." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her wedding ring caught the light. "Maybe we should plan that getaway soon. You need a break." The irony would have been funny if it weren't so devastating. "Maybe," I said. After dinner, I helped Emma with her reading homework while Jessica cleaned the kitchen. At 8 o'clock, I tucked Emma into bed, kissed her forehead, and told her I loved her. "Love you too, Daddy," she said, already half asleep. I found Jessica in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I entered. "Want to watch something?" she asked. "Actually, I have some work to finish. I'll be in the office for a bit." "On a Thursday night?" She frowned. "Can it wait?" "Big presentation tomorrow. I need to review the numbers." She sighed but didn't argue. "Don't stay up too late." "I won't." I went to my office and closed the door. Sat at my desk in the dark for a long time, thinking. 2 weeks. Tyler would gather more evidence. I would find an attorney. I would document our finances, secure my assets, prepare for what came next. Jessica had made her choice. She'd chosen it every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months. She'd chosen it when she kissed him in parking lots. She'd chosen it when she lied about yoga classes and smiled at me over dinner. Now I would make mine. I pulled out my laptop and began researching divorce attorneys. I needed someone aggressive, someone who understood asset protection, someone who would fight for custody. The first name on my list was a woman named Patricia Reeves. Her website showed a stern-faced attorney in her 50s with a list of credentials and case victories. "Protecting your interests in a high-conflict divorce," the tagline read. I drafted an email requesting a consultation, kept it brief, mentioned that I had documented evidence of infidelity and needed to discuss strategy. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. "Coming to bed soon?" I typed back, "Another hour. Don't wait up." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, "Okay, love you." I stared at those 2 words. Love you. She'd texted them hundreds of times over the years. They'd meant something once. Maybe they still meant something to her, in whatever compartmentalized corner of her mind allowed her to maintain this double life. But they meant nothing to me anymore. I turned back to my laptop and continued my research. The text from Jessica arrived while I was sitting in my car outside the law offices of Patterson and Green. "Love you. Picking up Emma. Need anything from the store?" I stared at the message for 3 seconds, then deleted it without responding. She'd assume I was in a meeting. She always assumed I was in a meeting. The attorney's office occupied the 3rd floor of a steel and glass building downtown. I'd chosen Robert Patterson based on Tyler's recommendation and 3 hours of research. 56 years old, 30 years of family law experience, reputation for aggressive representation of high net worth clients. His consultation fee was $800. I'd paid it without hesitation. The receptionist led me to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Patterson stood when I entered. Tall, gray-haired, expensive suit. His handshake was firm and brief. "Mr. White." He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. "I've reviewed the preliminary materials you sent over." I'd emailed him a summary the night before. Dates, facts, no emotion. 10-year marriage, 1 child, documented infidelity, 8 months of evidence. "Thank you for seeing me on short notice." "Of course." He settled into his chair, opened a folder. "Before we discuss strategy, I need to understand your objectives. What outcome are you looking for?" "Primary custody of my daughter. The house. Equitable division of assets with consideration for the circumstances." Patterson made a note. "And regarding spousal support?" "I'd prefer to avoid it entirely, but I understand Oregon law." "Oregon is a no-fault divorce state," he said. "Infidelity doesn't directly impact property division or spousal support calculations. However, it can influence custody decisions if we demonstrate poor judgment that affects the child's welfare." I'd expected this. I'd read enough to know that Jessica's affair wouldn't automatically disqualify her from anything. The law didn't care about betrayal. It cared about finances and best interests and equitable distribution. "I understand," I said. "That's why I'm here. I need to know what will actually matter." Patterson leaned back in his chair. "Walk me through your current financial situation. Income, assets, debts, everything." I spent the next 20 minutes laying it out. My salary, $180,000 annually. Jessica's part-time consulting income, maybe $30,000, inconsistent. The house, purchased 8 years ago, now worth approximately $600,000 with $200,000 remaining on the mortgage. Retirement accounts, mine substantially larger. Savings, investments, Emma's college fund. "And your wife has access to all of this?" Patterson asked. "Joint accounts for household expenses, separate retirement accounts. The house is in both names. Credit cards? Joint." He made another note. "First priority is protecting your assets. Today, before you leave here, you're going to open individual accounts at a different bank. Transfer exactly half of all joint savings and checking balances. Document everything. Don't take more than half. That looks like you're hiding assets. Take exactly what's yours. I nodded. I'd anticipated this too. Cancel all joint credit cards. You'll get pushback from the credit card companies, so instead, call and reduce the limits to something minimal. $500. That prevents her from running up debt you're liable for. What about the house? You'll continue making the mortgage payments. Keep records of every payment. Oregon presumes equal contribution to marital assets, but actual contribution matters for equitable distribution. If you're paying the mortgage, utilities, everything, while she's spending joint funds on an affair, that creates a pattern we can use. She doesn't know I know, I said. I've been acting completely normal. Patterson's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Approval, maybe, or recognition. How long can you maintain that? As long as necessary. Good. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to continue normal life while we prepare. I'll need copies of everything. Tax returns for the last 5 years, pay stubs, bank statements, mortgage documents, credit card statements, retirement account statements. Every financial document you can access. Your investigator friend has surveillance documentation, photographs, video, detailed logs. 8 months of Tuesday and Thursday meetings. Same hotel, same room. I'll need all of it. We'll also need documentation of her daily schedule, particularly regarding Emma. Who does school pickup? Who makes doctor's appointments? Who attends parent-teacher conferences? Daily routine, everything. I already had most of it. I'd been documenting without realizing I was documenting. Calendar entries, email confirmations, school permission slips I'd signed because Jessica forgot. I handle most of Emma's schedule, I said. School events, medical appointments, activities. Jessica does pick up and drop off because she works from home. Does she actually work from home? Patterson asked. Or is she meeting her boyfriend while your daughter is at school? The question landed like a physical thing. I'd known it, obviously. I'd seen Tyler's surveillance logs. But hearing it stated so plainly in this office, in the context of custody evaluation, it changed the shape of it. She meets him twice a week, I said. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, 9 to noon, Emma's at school. And the rest of the time? She works, legitimately as far as I know. Client calls, project work. She's home when Emma gets there. Patterson wrote something down. We'll need to establish that pattern clearly. The affair happens during school hours, which means she's not directly neglecting the child. That's actually better for us than if she were pawning Emma off on babysitters to meet this man. I hadn't thought of it that way. Jessica's careful compartmentalization, affair during school hours, mother the rest of the time, might actually work against her. What's the timeline? I asked. Realistically? If we file next week, we're looking at 6 months minimum before trial, assuming she contests. Could be longer. Oregon requires a 90-day waiting period from service of papers to final judgment, but that's only if everything's uncontested. She'll contest, most likely, which means we prepare for litigation, discovery, depositions, financial disclosures, custody evaluation. It's expensive and it's exhausting. I don't care about expensive. Patterson studied me for a moment. Let me be clear about something, Mr. White. You have advantages here. You're the primary income earner. You're involved in your daughter's life. You have extensive documentation of infidelity, which, while not directly relevant to property division, creates a narrative. But Oregon courts start from a presumption of shared custody. We're going to have to demonstrate why that's not in Emma's best interest. The affair demonstrates judgment issues. It demonstrates marital problems. What we need is evidence that those judgment issues affect her parenting. Does she drink excessively? Use drugs? Leave Emma unsupervised? Expose her to inappropriate situations? I thought about Jessica at home, making dinner, helping with homework, reading bedtime stories. Perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect liar. No, I said. She's careful. Then we focus on what we have. Financial irresponsibility if she's spending marital assets on the affair. Your greater involvement in Emma's education and activities. Your stable work schedule versus her inconsistent income. We build a case that primary custody with you provides more stability. He walked me through the next steps. Gather documents, maintain surveillance, keep detailed logs of every interaction with Emma. Don't change any patterns. Don't let Jessica know anything was wrong. When do I tell her? I asked. You don't. I do. We'll prepare all the paperwork, file it with the court, and have her served. That's when she finds out. She'll be blindsided. Yes. Patterson's expression was neutral. That's strategic. The more time she has to prepare, the more time she has to hide assets, create documentation, build her own case. We file when we're ready, not when she expects it. I left his office an hour later with a list of tasks and a retainer agreement for $15,000. I'd wire the money tomorrow. By the end of the week, Patterson would have everything he needed to destroy the life Jessica thought was secure. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. Another text from Jessica. Emma wants tacos for dinner. Home by 6? I responded this time. Sounds good. See you then. The retainer check cleared on a Wednesday. I knew because I'd been monitoring my accounts obsessively, watching the numbers like they might reveal something about what came next. They didn't. Money just moved, indifferent to the reasons behind it. Jessica suggested we have dinner at Marcello's that Friday. Just us, she said, touching my arm as I stood at the bathroom sink that morning. Emma can sleep over at Riley's. We haven't had a date night in forever. Sounds good, I said, meeting her eyes in the mirror. She smiled, and I wondered if she'd smiled at Brandon the same way before they drove to whatever hotel they'd chosen that week. Tyler's surveillance reports arrived every other day now, delivered through an encrypted email service. Tuesday, coffee at 9:15 a.m., Riverside Inn, 10 a.m. to 1:45 p.m. Thursday, same coffee shop, different hotel, the Airport Comfort Suites this time, 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. The precision of it struck me. She'd built an entire routine around betrayal, scheduled it like any other appointment. Robert had been clear about maintaining normalcy, so I made the reservation at Marcello's myself. 7 o'clock. I even remembered to request the table by the window, the one Jessica preferred. You're being so sweet lately, she said. Thursday evening, curling up next to me on the couch after Emma had gone to bed. Her head rested on my shoulder, and she smelled like her usual shampoo, something with lavender. I feel like we've been reconnecting. Yeah, I said. The television played something neither of us was watching. It's been nice. She'd been at the Comfort Suites 6 hours earlier. Room 412, according to Tyler's report. Brandon had arrived first, waited in his car for 8 minutes before going inside. Jessica had pulled up at 9:28, parked 3 spaces away from him. They'd walked to the room separately, 30 seconds apart. The audacity of it would have been impressive if it weren't so devastating. Friday arrived with unseasonable warmth, one of those late autumn days that felt borrowed from September. I worked from home, something I'd been doing more frequently. Robert had suggested documenting my presence, my involvement in Emma's daily routine. I helped her with breakfast, packed her lunch, drove her to school. Jessica stayed in her office for most of the morning, door closed, taking a call that lasted 45 minutes. I wondered if she was talking to Brandon, planning their next meeting, or maybe discussing something mundane, billing rates, client deliverables. Maybe she compartmentalized as effectively as I did, keeping her affair in one box and her marriage in another, both sealed tight. Have fun at Riley's, I told Emma, when Jessica dropped her off that afternoon. I'd offered to do it, but Jessica had insisted. She needed to run errands anyway. I hugged Emma tight, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. You and Mom are going on a date, Emma said, grinning. That's so weird. Why is it weird? Because you're old. Thanks, kiddo. She laughed and ran toward Riley's front door, backpack bouncing. Jessica waved from the driver's seat, and I waved back. A perfect suburban tableau. Wife, husband, daughter. Nobody watching would have suspected the dissolution happening beneath the surface. I wore the blue shirt Jessica had bought me last Christmas. She'd picked a black dress I'd always liked, simple and elegant, with her hair down instead of in its usual messy bun. We looked like a couple trying to rekindle something. In a way, I supposed we were, just not in the direction she imagined. Marcello's was busy, the Friday evening crowd filling most tables. Our waiter was young, enthusiastic, probably working his way through college. He recommended the special, some kind of seafood risotto, and Jessica ordered it. I got the chicken piccata. We shared a bottle of wine. This is really nice, Jessica said, reaching across the table to take my hand. Her fingers were warm, her wedding ring catching the candlelight. I'm glad we're doing this. Me too. She talked about her work, a new client she'd landed, some marketing campaign for a local boutique. I listened, nodded, asked appropriate questions. She was animated, happy, her face glowing in the dim restaurant light. This was the Jessica I'd fallen in love with 12 years ago. Bright, engaged, fully present. Except she wasn't. Not really. Part of her existed somewhere else entirely, in hotel rooms and coffee shops, in text messages I'd never see, and conversations I'd never hear. You seem distracted, she said, halfway through the meal. Just thinking about work. David, she squeezed my hand. No work talk tonight. We promised. You're right. Sorry. The food was excellent. I barely tasted it. She ordered tiramisu for dessert, insisted we split it even though I wasn't hungry. The waiter brought 2 forks, and we ate from opposite sides of the plate, a ritual from our early dating years. Jessica's foot touched mine under the table. Remember when we used to do this all the time? She asked. Before Emma, before everything got so busy? I remember. We should make more time for us. I feel like we've been living parallel lives lately, you know? Just existing in the same house, but not really together. The irony was so sharp I almost laughed. Instead, I took another bite of tiramisu, let the sweetness dissolve on my tongue. We can work on that, I said. Her smile was radiant. I love you. I love you too. The words came automatically, muscle memory from a decade of marriage. I wasn't sure if they were still true. Maybe love didn't disappear the moment you discovered betrayal. Maybe it lingered, twisted into something unrecognizable, something that hurt more because it had once been real. We drove home in comfortable silence, Jessica's hand resting on my knee. The house was dark and empty when we arrived, Emma's absence making it feel larger than usual. Jessica kicked off her heels in the entryway, turned to face me with an expression I recognized. Emma's not home until tomorrow afternoon, she said softly. I understood what she was suggesting. Part of me, some distant, analytical part, wondered if this was a test. If she suspected something and was trying to gauge my reaction. But her eyes held nothing but warmth and desire, the same look I'd seen 1,000 times before. Okay, I said. We went upstairs together. She kissed me in the hallway, slow and deliberate, her hands sliding up my chest to my shoulders. I kissed her back, my body responding even as my mind cataloged the betrayal. She'd done this with Brandon. Maybe not the same kiss, not the same touch, but close enough, intimate enough. I thought about stopping, about pulling away and ending the charade right there. But Robert's voice echoed in my head. Maintain normalcy. Don't give her any reason to suspect. So I didn't stop. Afterward, she fell asleep quickly, curled against my side with one arm across my chest. Her breathing slowed, deepened, became the soft rhythm I'd listened to for 10 years. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of her against me, and tried to remember when things had started to break. Had there been a moment? A specific instance when she'd decided our marriage wasn't enough? Or had it been gradual, a slow erosion of commitment until the gap was wide enough for someone else to slip through? I'd probably never know. And maybe it didn't matter. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a message from Tyler sent to my secondary email. I didn't check it. Whatever surveillance update he had could wait until morning. Right now, I just lay in the darkness, listening to my wife breathe, counting down the days until everything fell apart. She stirred slightly, mumbled something incoherent, then settled back into sleep. 3 more weeks, Robert had said. Maybe 4. Enough time to ensure all documentation was complete, all assets properly protected, all evidence thoroughly compiled. I could wait 3 more weeks. I'd already waited this long. The blog post went live at 7 in the morning. I knew because I'd set up alerts months ago, back when Jessica first started Perfect White Life, and I'd been supportive, even proud. Now I watched the notification appear on my phone while I stood in the kitchen making coffee, Jessica still asleep upstairs. New post. Reconnecting with your partner, why date night saved our marriage. I didn't need to open it. I knew what it would say. How we'd rediscovered each other. How important it was to prioritize your relationship. How she felt closer to me than ever. The comments started immediately. Her followers ate this stuff up. The perfectly filtered photos of us at the restaurant, her hand on mine across the table. The caption about falling in love all over again. I poured my coffee and opened the post anyway. There we were, smiling, my arm around her waist. The photo she'd asked our server to take, the one where I'd held her close and thought about Brandon Cole's hands on her body just hours before. The comments rolled in. You two are relationship goals. And this is so beautiful. And your marriage is what I aspire to. Then, buried in the stream of heart emojis and praise, something different. Anonymous. Riverside Inn has excellent customer service. Very discreet. I stopped scrolling. The comment had posted 3 minutes ago. I refreshed the page. Already 12 new comments had appeared below it, pushing it down. Jessica's followers responding to each other, discussing their own date nights, their own relationship struggles. Nobody had responded to the anonymous comment. I read it again. Riverside Inn has excellent customer service. Very discreet. My hands stayed steady on my phone. Anyone else would see it as random spam, maybe a bot advertising hotels. But I'd seen that receipt. Room 237. I'd watched Tyler's surveillance photos. Different hotels, different rooms. But the Riverside Inn had been the first one I'd found evidence of. I took a screenshot. You're up early. Jessica appeared in the doorway, wearing one of my old college shirts, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked soft, sleepy, genuinely happy. Couldn't sleep, I said. Made coffee. She crossed to me, rose on her toes to kiss my cheek. You're sweet. I need to get Emma ready for school, but I wanted to thank you again for last night. It meant a lot. I saw your post went live. Her face lit up. Oh, good. I was worried the scheduling didn't work. What do you think? Too sappy? It's perfect, I said. Your followers will love it. She poured herself coffee, already pulling out her phone to check the response. I watched her scroll, her smile growing as she read the comments. She didn't pause on the anonymous one, didn't even seem to notice it. This is exactly what I needed, she said. I've been feeling like the blog was getting stale, you know? But this authentic, from the heart stuff, This is what people connect with. Authentic, I repeated. Yeah. Real life, real struggles, real solutions. She looked up at me, her expression earnest. I know I've been distant lately, working too much, stressed about growing the blog, but last night reminded me what matters. Us, our family. I nodded, sipped my coffee, let her words wash over me like white noise. She kissed me again, longer this time, then headed upstairs to wake Emma. I opened my phone and took another screenshot of the comment, then sent both images to Tyler. His response came within minutes. Interesting. I'll look into it. The comment was still there at lunch. I checked between meetings, watching Jessica's post accumulate hundreds of responses. The anonymous comment sat at 11:47 a.m., unremarked upon, just another line of text in a sea of enthusiasm. Anonymous. Riverside Inn has excellent customer service, very discreet. At 2 p.m., another comment appeared on a different post, one from 3 days ago about Emma's school project. Anonymous. Tuesdays and Thursdays must be so busy for you. How do you manage it all? I stared at my phone in the conference room, half listening to quarterly projections. Tuesdays and Thursdays. The exact days Jessica met Brandon. I excused myself, stepped into the hallway, and called Tyler. I saw, he said before I could speak. Someone's playing games. Who? That's the question. Could be someone who knows about the affair. Could be Brandon himself. Could be someone at one of the hotels. Could be random coincidence, I said. But I didn't believe it. Could be, Tyler agreed, also not believing it. But 2 comments, both with specific details? That's not random. Someone knows something. Can you trace the IP? Already tried, using a VPN routing through multiple servers. Whoever this is knows what they're doing. I leaned against the wall, watching colleagues pass by with coffee and laptops. Normal people doing normal work, not standing in hallways discussing anonymous commenters who knew about their wives' affairs. What do you want me to do? Tyler asked. Keep monitoring. Screenshot everything. If they comment again, I want a record. You think they'll comment again? Yeah, I said. I do. They did. That evening, while Jessica made dinner and Emma did homework at the kitchen table, another comment appeared. This time on a post from 2 weeks ago about healthy breakfast recipes. Anonymous. The Continental Hotel on 5th Street has a great breakfast buffet, Tuesday mornings especially. I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, pretending to work. Jessica hummed along to music playing from her phone, completely oblivious. The Continental Hotel. I pulled up Tyler's surveillance log. There it was, Tuesday, 2 weeks ago. Jessica's car in the parking lot from 9:15 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Photos of her and Brandon entering separately, leaving separately. Someone was documenting her affair in her own comment section. Dinner's ready, Jessica called. I closed my laptop. We ate as a family. Emma talked about her science project. Jessica asked about my day. I answered with the same practiced calm I'd maintained for 3 weeks, while my phone sat face down beside my plate, accumulating notifications. After Emma went to bed, Jessica curled up next to me on the couch. I've been thinking, she said, maybe we should plan a family vacation, just the 3 of us. Emma's spring break is coming up. That sounds nice. We could go somewhere warm, beach maybe. I could do a whole series of posts about family travel, keeping romance alive even with kids around. She traced patterns on my arm. What do you think? Let me check my schedule. She kissed my shoulder. I love you. I know I don't say it enough lately. I love you too, I said, and the words felt like stones in my mouth. After she went upstairs, I opened my laptop again. 4 new anonymous comments had appeared, scattered across different posts from the past month. Anonymous. Room service at the Grandview Suites is excellent. Very prompt. Anonymous. The parking garage on 7th is so convenient for downtown meetups. Anonymous. Do you ever worry about running into people you know? The city feels so small sometimes. Anonymous. 8 months goes by so fast, doesn't it? 8 months. Tyler's timeline exactly. I screenshot each one and sent them to Tyler, then opened a new document and started cataloging them. Timestamps, which posts they appeared on, exact wording. The pattern was clear. Someone knew about the affair, knew the locations, knew the duration, but they weren't exposing it. They weren't commenting on the date night post saying, "How can you write this while cheating?" They weren't messaging me directly. They were leaving breadcrumbs, hints, details that only someone with knowledge would understand. My phone buzzed. Tyler, this is deliberate. Someone wants you to know they know. I typed back, but why not just tell me directly? Maybe they think you already know. Maybe they're testing to see if you'll react. Maybe they want Jessica to figure out she's being watched. I considered that. If Jessica noticed the comments, really noticed them, what would she do? Panic? Confess? Break it off with Brandon? Or would she just delete them and keep going, confident that her followers wouldn't connect the dots? Another comment appeared while I watched. Anonymous. 3 weeks isn't very long to wait, but I suppose you're used to patience by now. My blood went cold. 3 weeks. The exact timeline until I filed for divorce. The exact countdown I'd been keeping in my head. Someone didn't just know about Jessica's affair. They knew about mine. The comments kept coming. I sat in my car outside the office building, phone in hand, refreshing Jessica's blog for the 3rd time in 20 minutes. She'd posted earlier that morning something about Emma's science project and the importance of hands-on parenting. Already 17 comments. Most were the usual praise from her followers. But there, 4th from the top, was another anonymous message. Room 412 has such nice views, though I suppose you were too busy to notice. Room 412, Continental Hotel. Tyler's surveillance photos showed Jessica entering that exact room 2 weeks ago. Thursday morning, 9:47 a.m. She'd stayed 93 minutes. My hands remained steady on the phone. That's what I kept noticing, how calm I stayed, how methodical. 3 days since I'd first spotted the anonymous comments, and I still hadn't panicked, hadn't confronted Jessica, hadn't deviated from the plan. But someone knew. Someone was watching, and they wanted me to know they were watching. I dialed Tyler. "Yeah," he answered on the second ring. Another comment, "Room 412, Continental Hotel." Silence. Then, "That's not public information." "I know." "David, I need to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer." I waited. "Have you told anyone else? Anyone at all? About the investigation, the evidence, any of it?" "No." "Not a coworker? Not another friend? No one you might have vented to after a few drinks?" "I don't vent," I said. "And you know I don't drink during the week." "What about Patterson? Could someone in his office—" "Attorney-client privilege, and he runs a small practice. Just him and one paralegal who's been with him 20 years. Tyler exhaled slowly. "Then we have a problem." "Tell me something I don't know." "I'm serious. Someone has access to either my surveillance reports or your evidence files. Or," he paused, "or they're conducting their own surveillance on both of you." I watched a woman exit the building across the street, laughing into her phone. Normal day, normal life. Why would someone do that? That's the question. Could be a dozen reasons. Someone who knows Jessica and wants to expose her. Someone who knows you and thinks they're helping. Someone with a grudge against one of you. Or, another pause. Someone who's planning something and wants you both off balance first. The woman got into a silver sedan and drove away. I counted 5 seconds before responding. What do you recommend? I'm going to review my security protocols. Make sure my files haven't been accessed. You should do the same. Check your home office, your computer, anywhere you've stored documentation. Already done, this morning. Everything's exactly where I left it. Then someone's either very good or they have independent information. Tyler's voice shifted, became more formal, more professional. I'm also going to run background checks on a few people. Jessica's sister, her close friends, anyone who might have reason to know her schedule well enough to notice the pattern. Her sister doesn't know, I said. I verified the Portland trip story. She really was there that weekend, just not the Tuesday I found the receipt for. You verified it how? I called her, asked if she had any photos from Jessica's visit last month. She sent me a dozen, all time-stamped from that Saturday and Sunday. So Jessica did visit, just not when she said. Correct. She went up Saturday morning, came back Sunday night. The Tuesday hotel visit was separate. Tyler was quiet for a moment. That's actually more calculated than a simple lie. She built the deception around a real event, made it harder to verify. I already knew that. Had known it since I'd seen the photos. Jessica and her sister at some waterfront restaurant, both smiling, both wine glasses raised. The timestamp read Saturday, 7:23 p.m. The hotel receipt was from Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. 2 separate trips, one convenient cover story. I need to know who's leaving these comments, I said. I know, I'm working on it. But David, Tyler's voice lowered. Until we figure this out, assume you're being watched. Assume everything you do is being documented. Don't change your routine. Don't give any indication you're aware of the comments. Just be careful. I'm always careful. Yeah, I know. I ended the call and sat there, watching the office building's entrance. My building. Where I'd worked for 6 years, where everyone knew me as the guy who stayed late and never missed deadlines. Where my secretary had a photo of Jessica and Emma on her desk because they'd brought me lunch once and she'd thought they were adorable. How many people here knew about Jessica's blog? She'd mentioned it at the company holiday party 2 years ago. Had shown it to a few wives, laughing about how she'd accidentally built a following. Some of those wives probably subscribed now, probably read every post, probably saw every comment. I pulled up the blog again, scrolled through the anonymous messages, reading them in sequence. Tuesdays and Thursdays, such a consistent schedule. 8 months is a long time to keep a secret. The Riverside Inn, the Continental Hotel, the Grandview Suites. You really should vary your choices more. 3 weeks isn't very long to wait. Room 412 has such nice views, though I suppose you were too busy to notice. 5 comments total, spread across 3 different blog posts over 3 days, each one revealing information that should have been private, each one demonstrating a level of knowledge that went beyond casual observation. The first comment could have been coincidence, someone noticing Jessica's absence from the blog on certain days. The second could have been a guess. But by the third, with specific hotel names, that required either access to my evidence or independent surveillance. And the fourth comment, 3 weeks isn't very long to wait, that one bothered me most. Because the only people who knew my timeline were Tyler and Patterson, and I trusted both of them completely, which meant someone had either followed me to Patterson's office or had somehow accessed Tyler's reports, or had drawn their own conclusions based on what? My behavior? My routine? Something I'd said or done that telegraphed my intentions? I thought back over the past 3 weeks, tried to identify any moment where I might have slipped, might have revealed something. But there was nothing. I'd maintained the facade perfectly. Kissed Jessica goodbye every morning. Asked about her day every evening. Helped Emma with homework. attended her soccer game last Saturday, smiled at all the right moments. No one could have known from watching me. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Don't forget Emma has dance at 6. Can you pick her up? I have a client call that might run late. Client call on a Tuesday evening. I pulled up Tyler's surveillance schedule. Jessica's pattern was mornings, always mornings. Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., sometimes noon. Never evenings. I texted back. Sure, I'll get her. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. You're the best. Love you. I pocketed the phone without responding and started the car. The drive home took 35 minutes. Rush hour traffic, everyone heading back to their normal lives, their normal families. I used the time to think, to analyze, to consider possibilities. Someone was watching Jessica. That much was clear. But were they also watching me? The 3 weeks comment suggested yes, which meant they'd either overheard my conversation with Patterson or had made an educated guess based on typical divorce timelines. Or, and this possibility had started forming in the back of my mind, they wanted me to think they knew more than they did. Wanted me paranoid. Wanted me to make a mistake. I parked in the driveway at 5:47 p.m. Jessica's car was already there, which meant no client call. Or the call was from home. Or she'd lied about the call entirely and planned to leave later. I sat in the car for 30 seconds watching the house. Lights on in the kitchen. Emma's bedroom window showed the glow of her desk lamp. Everything normal, everything perfect. Just like Jessica's blog always showed. I got out of the car and walked to the front door, used my key, stepped inside. Hey, babe, Jessica called from the kitchen. You're home early. Wanted to make sure I had time before Emma's dance class. She appeared in the hallway, still in yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Hair in a messy bun. Bare feet. She looked exactly like she always did. Exactly like the woman I'd married 10 years ago. You're sweet, she said, rising on her toes to kiss my cheek. I'm making chicken stir-fry. Should be ready in 20. Sounds good. I walked past her to the home office, opened my laptop, pulled up Jessica's blog one more time. 6 new comments since I'd last checked. The anonymous commenter had posted again. Does he know yet? Or are you both still pretending? I sat in my car outside the office building, staring at my phone screen. The comment had appeared 20 minutes ago and already it had 17 replies. Jessica's followers were treating it like entertainment. Okay, this is getting creepy now. Someone knows something. Jessica, you need to report this to the police. I refreshed the page. 18 replies. The anonymous commenter hadn't responded to any of them. My phone buzzed. Tyler. We need to talk, he said when I answered. Now. I'm heading to your office. No, not here. He paused. The coffee shop on Madison, 20 minutes. He hung up before I could ask why. I found Tyler in the back corner, away from the windows. He had 2 cups in front of him, neither one touched. His expression was tight. Someone's following you, he said as I sat down. The words didn't register at first. What? Black Honda Civic. Followed you from your house this morning. Stayed 3 cars back, professional spacing. Lost them when you pulled into the parking garage, but they were waiting when you came out. I felt my chest tighten. You're sure? I've been doing this for 8 years. Tyler slid his phone across the table. The screen showed a photograph taken through a windshield. A dark sedan, the driver's face obscured by the angle and glare. Same car was parked down the street from your house last night. Different spot, but same vehicle. Did you get a plate? Dealer plates. Temporary registration. Could be legitimate, could be swapped. I'm running it, but I'm not optimistic. I picked up the coffee he'd ordered for me. Black, no sugar. My hands were steady. How long? I noticed them yesterday, but that doesn't mean they haven't been there longer. Tyler leaned forward. David, this changes things. Someone knows you're building a case. They know your timeline. And now they're watching you. The blog comments. Has to be connected. He pulled his phone back, swiped to a different screen. I went through all the anonymous comments from the past week. There are 12 total, all posted from different IP addresses, coffee shops, libraries, public Wi-Fi. Whoever this is, they're being careful. Can you trace them? Not without a subpoena, and even then it's a long shot. Public networks don't keep detailed logs. He paused. But I can tell you when they were posted. Every single one was made between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., Tuesday or Thursday. The same window when Jessica was at the hotels? So someone's watching her too, I said. Or they're with her. Tyler's expression was grim. Brandon Cole has a girlfriend, lives with her. I did a basic background check when I identified him. Standard procedure. Her name's Ashley Bennett. Works as a dental hygienist. I set down my coffee. You think she knows? I think it's possible. The comments started appearing right around the time you hired me. Could be coincidence. Could be she noticed Brandon's schedule, started digging, found out about Jessica's blog. And decided to what? Blow everything up anonymously? People do strange things when they find out they've been cheated on. Tyler's voice was careful. Some want confrontation. Some want revenge. Some just want the other person to hurt the way they're hurting. I thought about the comments, the specific details, the escalating revelations. If it's her, why not just tell me directly? Why play games on a public blog? Because she's angry at both of them. Jessica for sleeping with her boyfriend, Brandon for cheating. Maybe she wants to watch it all fall apart. Maybe she wants an audience. Tyler drummed his fingers on the table. Or maybe it's not her at all. Maybe it's someone else entirely. Who? I don't know. That's the problem. He pulled up another photo on his phone. This was taken this morning. Same black Civic, parked outside Brandon Cole's gym. The image showed the sedan in a parking lot, positioned with a clear view of the entrance. Whoever was driving had a direct line of sight to everyone coming and going. They're watching both of you, Tyler said. You and Jessica. Maybe Brandon too. This isn't just about the affair anymore. I felt the weight of it settling over me. For 3 weeks, I'd been the one watching. I'd been in control, gathering evidence, building my case. The surveillance had given me power, the power of knowledge, of preparation. Now, someone else was watching me. What do you recommend? I asked. Tyler was quiet for a moment. Honestly? Move up your timeline. File now, before whoever this is decides to make a move. Patterson said 3 to 4 weeks minimum for optimal documentation. Patterson isn't being followed by an unknown party who knows your entire plan. Tyler's voice was flat. Look, I get it. You want everything perfect. You want overwhelming evidence, but if someone's planning to interfere, I'm not rushing this. The words came out harder than I intended. I've spent 3 weeks maintaining perfect normalcy, 3 weeks sleeping next to her, eating dinner with her, pretending everything's fine. I'm not throwing that away because someone's playing games online. This isn't a game, David. Someone followed you to my office. They know you hired an investigator. They're posting details about your wife's affair on a public blog. That's not random harassment. That's someone with specific knowledge and specific intent. I looked down at the photograph of the black Civic. The angle was wrong to see inside, but I could make out a silhouette in the driver's seat. Someone sitting, waiting, watching. Can you find out who it is? I asked. I can try, but it'll take time and resources. We're talking about counter-surveillance, which means more hours, higher fees. Do it. Tyler studied me for a long moment. You're sure? Someone's watching my family, following me to work, posting about my personal life online. Yes, I'm sure. He nodded slowly. I'll need to bring in another operative. Someone to watch the watcher while I maintain surveillance on Jessica. It's going to double your costs. I don't care about the costs. Okay. Tyler pulled out a small notebook, the old-fashioned kind with an actual pen. I need you to document everything. Every time you notice someone following you. Every new comment that appears. Every detail, no matter how small. If this person is building toward something, we need to know what. What do you think they're building toward? I don't know. He met my eyes. But people who conduct surveillance and post cryptic messages online usually have an endgame. Either they want something from you, or they want to prevent something. Either way, we need to figure out what it is before they make their move. I thought about Jessica at home, probably writing another blog post about our perfect life. Emma doing homework at the kitchen table. Everything normal on the surface, while underneath multiple people watched and waited and planned. There's one other possibility, Tyler said quietly. Something I haven't mentioned yet. What? The person following you might not be connected to the blog comments at all. Could be two separate situations, two different people with two different agendas. The thought was almost worse. Not one unknown variable, but two. You're saying I might have multiple people watching me. I'm saying we can't assume anything right now. We need more information. Tyler finished his coffee, grimaced at the cold bitterness. Go home. Act normal. Don't let Jessica know anything's changed. I'll have my associate in place by tomorrow morning. We'll identify whoever's in that Civic within 48 hours. And the blog comments? Keep monitoring them. Screenshot everything. If a new one appears, text me immediately. He stood, gathering his phone and notebook. And David, be careful. Whoever this is, they're not amateurs. They know how to stay hidden. They know how to watch without being seen. That takes skill. I walked back to my car alone, scanning the parking lot for a black Honda Civic. I didn't see one, but that didn't mean it wasn't there. Didn't mean someone wasn't watching from a different vehicle, a different vantage point. I'd spent 3 weeks being the observer, the investigator, the one with secret knowledge. Now I understood what it felt like to be observed. The black Civic belonged to Ashley Bennett. Tyler confirmed it 3 days later, after his associate followed her from the dental office where she worked to Brandon Cole's apartment. She'd parked across the street for 45 minutes, just watching the building, before driving to my neighborhood and parking 2 houses down from mine. She knows about both affairs, Tyler said over the phone. Hers and yours. I'm not having an affair. No, but you're planning to destroy your wife's life? From her perspective, that might be worse. The blog comments stopped after that. Ashley had made her point. She wanted us to know we were being watched. Wanted us to feel the paranoia she'd been living with for 8 months, while Brandon came home smelling like hotel soap and cheap cologne. I filed for divorce on a Thursday morning. Patterson had everything ready. 63 pages of documentation, financial records, surveillance photos, hotel receipts, text message logs. Tyler had obtained through methods I didn't ask about. The filing fee was $412. I paid it without blinking. Jessica was served at home that afternoon while Emma was at school. I'd arranged to work late, couldn't stomach being there when she opened the envelope and saw her entire world collapse into legal terminology and exhibit labels. She called me 17 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. She texted, "Please come home. We need to talk. This is insane. I don't understand." Then, "David, please. Whatever you think happened, we can work through this." Then, "You're making a huge mistake." I turned off my phone and sat in my office, staring at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Brandon Cole was probably getting a similar call. Ashley had promised Tyler she'd handle that part herself. I didn't ask what she meant. The divorce took 9 months. Jessica fought everything: custody, assets, support. She hired an attorney who specialized in defending against adultery claims, who tried to argue that my evidence was obtained illegally, that Tyler had violated privacy laws, that the whole case should be thrown out. Patterson destroyed every argument methodically. The hotels were public spaces. The surveillance was conducted from public property. The photographs showed nothing that wasn't already visible to anyone watching. And Jessica's own blog had documented her lies. Posts about yoga classes she'd never attended, sister visits that never happened, the perfect marriage that was rotting from the inside. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd been on the bench for 20 years. She reviewed the evidence without expression, asked pointed questions about Emma's daily routine, and made her ruling on a gray morning in late summer. Primary custody to me. The house to me. Jessica kept her retirement accounts and half the savings. No spousal support. Oregon law didn't care about adultery, but it did care about earning capacity, and Jessica's blog had ironically documented her growing income from sponsored posts and affiliate marketing. Jessica cried in the courtroom. Her attorney put a hand on her shoulder. I felt nothing. Emma adjusted better than I'd feared. We established a routine. Weekdays with me, alternating weekends with Jessica, who'd moved into a small apartment downtown. My daughter asked questions at first. Why weren't we together anymore? Had she done something wrong? Would we ever be a family again? I told her the truth, in age-appropriate terms. Sometimes adults grow apart. Sometimes people make choices that hurt the people they love. None of it was her fault. We both still loved her more than anything. She seemed to accept that. Kids are resilient. More resilient than the adults who break promises around them. Jessica's blog disappeared 6 months after the divorce finalized. The perfect life she'd curated couldn't survive the reality of a public divorce filing, couldn't weather the comments from followers who'd figured out what the anonymous messages had meant. She'd tried to pivot, tried to rebrand as a single mom finding herself, but the audience had moved on. They'd wanted the fantasy. The reality was too uncomfortable. I heard through mutual friends that she and Brandon lasted another 3 months before he moved to California. Ashley Bennett sent me a single text after the divorce was final. Thank you for not settling. Some people need to lose everything before they understand what they had. I never responded. We'd been allies by circumstance, not choice. 2 years later, I stood in Emma's bedroom doorway, watching her sleep. She was 10 now, growing too fast, already showing signs of the teenager she'd become. Her room was decorated with soccer trophies and science fair ribbons and photos of her friends. A normal childhood, despite everything. I thought about the receipt I'd found that afternoon 2 years ago. How a single piece of crumpled paper had unraveled a decade of my life. How discovering betrayal had felt like stepping through ice. The sudden shock, the cold clarity, the understanding that nothing beneath you was solid anymore. But I'd survived the fall. Built something new from the wreckage. Jessica had moved on too, I'd heard. New job, new city, new relationship. We communicated only about Emma now. Brief texts about pickup times and school events. Professional, distant. Like strangers coordinating logistics. Maybe that's all we'd ever been. Two people who'd loved the idea of each other more than the reality. Two people who'd built a life on assumptions that crumbled the moment they were tested. The moral, if there was one, wasn't about trust or betrayal or revenge. It was simpler than that. People show you who they are through their choices. Jessica had chosen hotel rooms and lies and a blog full of beautiful fiction. I'd chosen documentation and patience in the long game. We'd both gotten exactly what we'd chosen. And in the end, the only thing that mattered was the sleeping child in front of me. The one innocent person in the whole mess. The one who deserved better than parents who destroyed each other. I pulled her door closed quietly and walked downstairs to the home office. Sat at my desk, opened my laptop. The file folder labeled Evidence was still there. though I hadn't opened it in 18 months. 63 pages of documentation, hundreds of photographs, a complete record of betrayal, preserved digitally forever. I moved it to the trash, emptied the trash, let it disappear. Some battles you win by fighting, others you win by finally letting go. I'd won everything I'd set out to win: the house, the custody, the moral high ground. But sitting alone in my office at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night, I wondered if winning had been worth the cost of becoming someone who could wage that kind of war. The answer didn't matter anymore. The war was over. Jessica had lost everything she'd taken for granted. I'd kept everything I'd fought to protect. We were both exactly where our choices had led us. And Emma, sleeping upstairs, would grow up knowing that actions have consequences. That trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt with pretty words and blog posts. That sometimes the people who promise to love you forever are the ones who hurt you most. Hard lessons, but honest ones. I closed my laptop and turned off the light. Tomorrow I'd wake up, make Emma breakfast, drive her to school, go to work, come home, help with homework, tuck her in. The routine I'd built, the life I'd chosen. It wasn't the life I'd imagined 10 years ago, standing at an altar, promising forever to a woman who'd already started planning her exit. But it was real. It was mine. And it was enough.